there is a silent power that most people overlook. They chase, they force, they worry, and they exhaust themselves trying to control every outcome. Yet the more tightly they hold on, the more life seems to slip through their fingers. Today's message is not about becoming passive, it is about becoming aligned. When the mind relaxes, clarity appears. When the heart relaxes, fear loses its grip. When the body relaxes, energy flows naturally. And when your entire being stops fighting reality, you begin to attract what truly belongs to you. The greatest opportunities, relationships, ideas, and blessings often arrive not when we are desperate, but when we are grounded, present, and at peace. This is the wisdom of stillness. This is the strength of calmness. And this is the path we will walk together today. Relax, and you will attract everything you want. Most people believe that success comes from constant pressure. They wake up with anxiety, rush through the day, and carry a mind that never stops speaking. They think that if they worry enough, plan enough, and push hard enough, life will finally reward them. But look carefully. Has endless tension truly brought them peace? Has fear created freedom? Has a restless mind ever produced a fulfilled life? The truth is that a disturbed mind cannot clearly see opportunities. A tense heart cannot deeply connect with others. A body filled with stress cannot sustain its highest potential. Inner calm is not weakness. It is a hidden source of power. Imagine a lake. When the water is constantly moving, you cannot see what lies beneath. But when the surface becomes still, everything becomes visible. Your mind works the same way. When you are consumed by worry, comparison, and urgency, your vision becomes cloudy. You react instead of respond. You chase instead of choose. You become controlled by external events. But when you cultivate inner calm, you begin to see with greater clarity. You notice opportunities that were always there. You understand people more deeply. You make decisions from wisdom instead of panic. Many people are trying to attract abundance while living in a state of fear. They want better relationships, but they carry emotional chaos. They want success, but they operate from desperation. They want peace, but they feed their minds with constant noise. What you consistently embody becomes the energy you project into the world. If your inner world is dominated by lack, pressure, and fear, that energy influences your actions, your words, and your choices. But when you cultivate calmness, you begin to project stability, confidence, and presence. Notice how naturally people are drawn to those who are centered. A calm person does not need to prove their value. They do not speak loudly to be heard. They do not chase approval from everyone around them. Their presence itself creates trust. In a world filled with emotional turbulence, calmness becomes rare, and what is rare becomes powerful. The person who remains grounded when others panic often sees possibilities that others miss. Inner calm also changes your relationship with time. When the mind is anxious, everything feels urgent. You fear missing out. You fear falling behind. You fear that life is happening for others but not for you. This creates a constant sense of lack. But calmness teaches patience. It reminds you that growth has seasons. A tree does not become strong overnight. A seed does not become a forest in a day. The greatest transformations often happen quietly, beneath the surface, long before the results become visible. To relax does not mean to stop acting. It means to stop acting from fear. There is a profound difference between inspired action and desperate action. Desperate action drains your energy because it comes from the belief that you are incomplete without the result. Inspired action energizes you because it comes from alignment, purpose, and clarity. One creates exhaustion. The other creates momentum. Think about the moments in your life when things flowed naturally. Often, the best conversations, opportunities, and ideas appeared when you were not forcing them. This is not an accident. When you relax, your awareness expands. You become more receptive. You listen better. You observe more. You notice connections that a stressed mind would overlook. Calmness also strengthens your resilience. Life will still bring challenges. People may disappoint you. Plans may change. Unexpected difficulties may arise. But a calm person is not easily broken because their stability does not depend entirely on external conditions. They understand that peace is an inner practice. They know that storms can exist around them without becoming storms within them. One of the greatest misconceptions is that calm people lack ambition. In reality, the strongest individuals are often deeply calm. They conserve their energy instead of wasting it on unnecessary reactions. They focus on what matters instead of fighting every battle. They move with intention rather than impulsiveness. Calmness allows power to become precise. Ask yourself, how much of your energy is being lost to overthinking? How many opportunities have been clouded by fear? How many sleepless nights have been spent trying to control what could not be controlled? Imagine redirecting that energy toward growth, learning, creating, and living fully in the present moment. The moment you stop fighting reality, you create space for a wiser response. Inner calm begins with small practices. Breathe more slowly. Pause before reacting. Spend time in silence. Observe your thoughts without believing every one of them. Reduce unnecessary noise. Be fully present in simple moments. Calmness is not something you find outside yourself. It is something you cultivate within yourself. And as that calmness grows, something remarkable happens. You no longer feel the need to chase every opportunity. You begin to attract the right ones. You no longer beg for validation. You naturally command respect. You no longer live from constant scarcity. You start making decisions from abundance and trust. Your energy changes, your presence changes, and eventually your life begins to reflect that change. The world often tells you to push harder, worry more, and never slow down. But wisdom whispers a different message. Relax, become present, and strengthen your inner stillness. From that stillness, clarity emerges. From clarity, right action emerges. And from right action, the life you seek begins to move toward you. Release control is one of the hardest lessons for the human mind because the mind is designed to seek certainty. It constantly asks, what will happen tomorrow? What if things go wrong? What if I fail? What if people reject me? These questions create an endless cycle of fear, and fear convinces us that if we simply think more, plan more, or control more, we will finally feel safe. But the opposite often becomes true. The tighter we grip life, the more exhausted we become. The more we try to force every outcome, the more resistance we create within ourselves. Real strength begins when we understand that not everything is meant to be controlled. Observe nature carefully. The sun does not struggle to rise every morning. Rivers do not argue with the direction of the current. Trees do not become anxious because winter has arrived. Every part of nature trusts its season. Yet human beings spend enormous amounts of energy resisting the season they are in. They resist delays, disappointments, uncertainty, and change. They believe life should unfold exactly according to their plans. When reality does not cooperate, frustration takes over. Trusting the process does not mean giving up your dreams. It means understanding that every meaningful achievement follows a path that cannot always be predicted. Every mountain has hidden turns. Every journey has unexpected weather. Every person who has accomplished something worthwhile has walked through moments when nothing seemed to make sense. Those moments were not signs to quit. They were invitations to develop patience. Most suffering does not come from the event itself. It comes from fighting against the event. A closed door hurts less than the story you create about it. A delay is often less painful than your belief that you are falling behind. The mind creates unnecessary suffering by insisting that life must happen in one specific way. But wisdom teaches flexibility. Sometimes the road you never wanted becomes the road that transforms you. Think about how often you have looked back on your life and realized that what once felt like a setback eventually became a blessing. A rejection forced you toward a better opportunity. A failure taught you a skill that success never could. A difficult relationship revealed the standards you deserve to have. At the time, you wanted control. Looking back, you discovered that life was quietly guiding you somewhere greater than your original plan. Control is often an illusion. You can prepare, but you cannot predict everything. You can work diligently, but you cannot control every result. You can love someone deeply, but you cannot control their choices. You can plant seeds, but you cannot command the rain. Recognizing these truths is not discouraging. It is liberating. Once you stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours, your energy becomes available for the things you can actually influence. Ask yourself an honest question. How much of your mental energy is spent worrying about things outside your control? How many conversations have you replayed in your mind? How many imaginary scenarios have stolen your peace? How often have you sacrificed today's joy because you were afraid of tomorrow's uncertainty? These habits feel productive, but they rarely improve your future. They only disturb your present. Trust begins where certainty ends. Anyone can remain calm when every answer is known. The true test of character appears when the path is unclear. Can you continue walking without seeing the entire road? Can you remain disciplined when immediate rewards are absent? Can you maintain hope while circumstances remain unchanged? These questions reveal the depth of your inner foundation. The strongest people are not those who control everything. They are those who adapt gracefully when control disappears. They understand that flexibility is a form of intelligence. Like bamboo bending in the wind, they survive because they do not resist every force that comes their way. Their confidence comes not from believing life will always be easy, but from trusting their ability to face whatever arrives. Many people delay happiness until every problem has been solved. They tell themselves they will finally relax after achieving success, earning more money, finding the perfect relationship, or eliminating every uncertainty. But life continuously presents new challenges. If peace depends on perfect circumstances, peace will always remain out of reach. Learning to trust the process means allowing yourself to experience gratitude even while the journey is incomplete. There is a difference between intention and attachment. Intention gives direction. Attachment demands a specific outcome. You should absolutely have goals, dreams, and ambitions. Work hard for them. Prepare wisely. Improve yourself every day. But once you have done your part, learn to release your grip on the result. Obsessing over outcomes does not improve them. It only clouds your judgment and weakens your spirit. Notice how creativity often appears when the mind is relaxed rather than forced. Great ideas emerge during walks, moments of silence, or quiet reflection. Solutions appear after you stop desperately searching for them. This is because a relaxed mind is open, while a fearful mind becomes narrow. Trust allows space for inspiration to enter. Life often teaches through waiting. Waiting develops patience. Patience develops wisdom. Wisdom develops strength. Without these seasons, success would have no foundation. Imagine receiving everything you wanted instantly. You might achieve your goals, but you would lack the character needed to sustain them. The process shapes the person before the reward arrives. Trust also transforms relationships. When you stop trying to control how others think, behave, or respond, your interactions become more genuine. You listen instead of manipulating. You accept instead of demanding. You respect boundaries instead of forcing expectations. This creates healthier connections because people naturally move toward those who offer freedom rather than pressure. One of the greatest forms of courage is accepting uncertainty without becoming paralyzed by it. The future has never been fully predictable, yet humanity continues to move forward. Every entrepreneur begins without guarantees. Every artist creates without certainty of recognition. Every explorer steps into unknown territory. Growth has always required faith beyond visible evidence. This does not mean becoming passive. Trust is active, not lazy. It means continuing your efforts while releasing unnecessary anxiety. It means taking the next step without demanding to see the entire staircase. It means believing that disciplined action combined with patience will reveal opportunities at the right time. Each morning, remind yourself that your responsibility is to act with integrity, discipline, kindness, and excellence. The results will come according to their own timing. When delays occur, remain steady. When obstacles appear, remain teachable. When success arrives, remain humble. The process itself becomes your teacher, shaping not only what you achieve, but who you become. The moment you stop trying to force life into your preferred timeline, you begin to notice a deeper rhythm already at work. You recognize that every experience carries a lesson, every challenge develops resilience, and every season prepares you for the next. Trusting the process is ultimately trusting that your growth is unfolding, even when you cannot yet see the destination. Allowing your heart to remain calm while your actions remain purposeful. Your vision remains clear and your spirit continues moving forward. Without fear or resistance, your life is constantly communicating something to the world, long before you speak a single word. Every thought you repeatedly entertain, every emotion you continuously nourish, every habit you practice, and every attitude you carry becomes part of your energy. Whether you realize it or not, people feel your presence before they analyze your words. This is why some individuals enter a room and immediately create a sense of peace, while others bring tension without saying anything. Energy is invisible, but its effects are undeniable. It shapes your decisions, influences your relationships, and determines how you respond to life's opportunities. When your inner energy changes, your outer reality begins to change with it. Many people spend years trying to improve their words while ignoring the condition of their hearts. They learn how to sound confident, but inside they are consumed by fear. They practice smiling, yet their minds remain filled with resentment. They try to appear successful, but internally they feel unworthy. Eventually, people sense this inconsistency. Authentic energy cannot be replaced by performance. A calm, sincere, and grounded person rarely needs to convince others of their value because their presence naturally communicates it. Imagine carrying a cup filled to the very top with water. Every small movement causes the water to spill. This is how many people live emotionally. The smallest criticism, delay, disagreement, or inconvenience causes an emotional reaction because their inner world is already overflowing with stress. But when your mind is balanced and your heart is steady, you are no longer controlled by every external circumstance. You become like a mountain that remains firm even while storms pass around it. The world often teaches people to chase attention instead of cultivating presence. They believe that louder voices create greater influence. They think constant activity proves importance. Yet history repeatedly shows that some of the strongest leaders, teachers, and mentors possessed remarkable calmness. They listened carefully before speaking. They observed before reacting. They moved with intention instead of urgency. Their influence came not from volume but from depth. Energy is created by what you repeatedly feed your mind. If your mornings begin with fear, comparison, and negativity, those emotions quietly accompany you throughout the day. Every conversation becomes colored by insecurity. Every opportunity becomes filtered through doubt. Every challenge feels larger than it truly is. On the other hand, when you nourish your mind with gratitude, discipline, patience, and self-awareness, You naturally begin to notice possibilities instead of obstacles. The external world may remain the same, but your perception transforms completely. Consider how often people seek external solutions for internal problems. They believe a new job will eliminate anxiety. They believe more money will remove insecurity. They believe recognition will create confidence. While external improvements can certainly make life more comfortable, they cannot permanently solve inner instability. A fearful mind simply carries its fear into a bigger house. An insecure heart brings insecurity into every new relationship. Unless the inner foundation changes, the outer circumstances merely provide a different stage for the same emotional patterns. Your energy also determines the quality of the people you attract. Relationships built upon desperation often become dependent. Relationships built upon insecurity frequently become controlling. But when you become emotionally grounded, you naturally attract people who appreciate honesty, respect, and maturity. This does not happen because life becomes magically easier. It happens because your standards change. You stop accepting connections that constantly drain your peace. You recognize that protecting your inner balance is more valuable than gaining temporary approval. Many people ask why certain opportunities never seem to appear in their lives. They focus entirely on external circumstances while overlooking the signals they constantly send through their actions. Opportunity is often drawn toward reliability, consistency, humility, and quiet confidence. Employers trust dependable people. Friends value emotionally stable people. Communities respect those who serve without constantly demanding recognition. These qualities are expressions of energy translated into daily behavior. One of the greatest leaks of personal energy is comparison. The moment you begin measuring your journey against someone else's timeline, you disconnect from your own purpose. Every individual has different lessons, different struggles, different gifts, and different seasons. A flower does not compete with the tree beside it. It simply blooms according to its own nature. When you compare constantly, you exchange gratitude for dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction quietly weakens your spirit. Protecting your energy requires discipline. It means becoming selective about what you watch, what you read, who influences your thinking, and which conversations deserve your attention. Every repeated experience leaves an imprint on your mind. If you constantly expose yourself to anger, fear, gossip, and endless distractions, your inner world gradually reflects those qualities. But if you intentionally surround yourself with wisdom, meaningful work, silence, and genuine relationships, your energy naturally becomes more peaceful and resilient. Notice that people who possess deep inner peace rarely rush to prove themselves. They do not need endless validation because their identity no longer depends on public opinion. Praise does not make them arrogant, and criticism does not destroy them. They appreciate encouragement without becoming dependent upon it. Their confidence grows from knowing who they are, rather than from controlling how others perceive them. Energy also reveals itself through your response to adversity. Anyone can appear positive when everything is going well. True inner transformation becomes visible when life becomes uncomfortable. Can you remain patient when plans collapse? Can you remain kind when misunderstood? Can you remain disciplined when motivation disappears? These moments reveal whether your peace is genuine or merely dependent upon favorable circumstances. Every day presents countless opportunities to strengthen your energy. A single deep breath before reacting. A moment of gratitude instead of complaint. Choosing forgiveness instead of bitterness. Listening with full attention instead of preparing your next argument. Finishing the work you promised yourself you would complete. These simple actions may seem insignificant, but repeated consistently, they reshape your character. Character becomes habit, Habit becomes presence, and presence becomes the energy that quietly influences every area of your life. The remarkable truth is that people are less attracted to perfection than they are to authenticity. They trust those who are honest about their imperfections while remaining committed to growth. Genuine humility creates connection because it removes the need for masks. When your actions consistently reflect your values, your energy becomes stable, and stability naturally earns respect. As your inner energy becomes calmer, clearer, and more disciplined, you stop trying to force life to notice you. Instead, your presence begins to speak through your consistency, your integrity, your patience, and your quiet confidence. Opportunities recognize preparation, meaningful relationships recognize authenticity, and lasting success recognizes character. What words alone could never persuade, your daily energy communicates effortlessly, allowing your life itself to become the strongest message you will ever share. Stillness is often misunderstood. Many people confuse it with inactivity, laziness, or a lack of ambition. They believe that if they stop moving for even a moment, they will fall behind everyone else. So they fill every hour with noise, every silence with distraction, and every empty moment with another task. Their bodies may be busy, but their minds are exhausted. Their schedules may be full, but their hearts feel empty. In a world that glorifies constant movement, stillness has become a forgotten discipline. Yet the greatest clarity does not emerge from endless activity. It is born in moments of deep silence. Look at an archer preparing to release an arrow. Before the arrow moves forward, there is complete stillness. The body becomes steady. The breath becomes calm. The eyes focus on one target. Only then is the arrow released with precision. Life follows the same principle. If your mind is constantly distracted, your decisions lose accuracy. You begin reacting instead of responding. You confuse urgency with importance. You spend enormous energy moving quickly in directions that do not truly matter. Most people do not fear silence because silence is dangerous. They fear silence because silence reveals what they have been avoiding. When there are no notifications, no conversations, no entertainment, and no distractions, the mind begins to expose hidden fears, unresolved emotions, and unanswered questions. Instead of facing these realities, many people choose constant stimulation. They stay busy not because every task is necessary, but because busyness helps them escape themselves. True stillness asks you to stop running. It invites you to observe your thoughts instead of becoming controlled by them. The moment you become the observer of your mind, something remarkable happens. You realize that not every thought deserves your attention. You begin to notice patterns. Some thoughts create fear. Others create anger. Some repeat old stories that no longer serve you. Without stillness, these patterns quietly direct your life. With awareness, they gradually lose their power. Imagine looking into a mirror while someone is constantly shaking it. Your reflection becomes distorted. You cannot clearly recognize yourself. But once the mirror becomes steady, your true image appears. Your mind is the same. A restless mind distorts reality. It exaggerates problems, magnifies criticism, and invents future disasters that may never happen. A still mind sees situations more objectively. It separates facts from fear. It recognizes opportunities hidden beneath temporary difficulties. Clarity is one of the greatest forms of wealth because every important decision in life depends upon it. The career you pursue, the relationships you build, the habits you strengthen, and the direction you choose all begin with clear perception. If perception is clouded by emotion, your choices often become reactions rather than intentional actions. This is why developing inner stillness is not simply a spiritual practice. It is a practical advantage. Many people spend years searching for answers outside themselves. They ask everyone for advice. They constantly compare opinions, They seek approval before making every important decision. While wise counsel is valuable, there comes a point when your own inner wisdom must become louder than external noise. That wisdom cannot be heard in chaos, it speaks quietly. Only a quiet mind can recognize it. Notice how many breakthroughs happen during simple moments. A peaceful walk, sitting quietly beneath a tree, watching the sun rise, breathing deeply without rushing toward the next responsibility. During these moments, solutions often appear unexpectedly. It is not because the universe suddenly changes. It is because your mind finally becomes open enough to notice what was already there. Stillness also transforms your emotional intelligence. Instead of immediately reacting to every uncomfortable emotion, you begin observing it with curiosity. Anger appears, but you do not instantly become angry. Fear arises, but you do not immediately surrender to it. Sadness visits, but you recognize that emotions are temporary experiences rather than permanent identities. This space between feeling and reaction becomes one of the greatest sources of personal freedom. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing every emotion requires immediate action. A difficult conversation occurs, and they react impulsively. Someone criticizes them, and they immediately defend themselves. A setback appears, and they instantly conclude that failure is inevitable. Stillness interrupts this automatic cycle. It gives wisdom enough time to enter before emotion takes control. Consider how the strongest mountains remain unmoved while clouds pass overhead. The clouds constantly change shape. They appear and disappear throughout the day. Your thoughts resemble those clouds. They come and go continuously. If you identify with every passing thought, your emotional state constantly changes. But if you become like the mountain, steady, grounded, and observant, you realize that thoughts are temporary visitors rather than permanent truths. Modern life constantly competes for your attention. Every notification, advertisement, opinion, headline, and conversation demands a portion of your focus. Attention has become one of the world's most valuable resources because wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. Without intentional stillness, your attention becomes scattered across countless distractions, leaving little energy available for meaningful growth. Creating stillness requires discipline. It may begin with only a few minutes each day. Sit without reaching for your phone. Observe your breathing without trying to change it. Listen to the sounds around you without judging them. Allow your thoughts to pass without chasing every one of them. At first, the mind may resist because it has become addicted to constant stimulation. But over time, silence becomes less uncomfortable and more nourishing. As stillness deepens, your priorities begin to change. You no longer chase everything that appears attractive. You become more selective about where your time, energy, and emotions are invested. You recognize that saying no to distractions allows you to say yes to purpose. Simplicity begins replacing unnecessary complexity. Stillness also strengthens your relationships because it teaches you how to truly listen. Most people hear only enough to prepare their response. A still mind listens to understand rather than to win. This creates deeper trust because people naturally feel valued when they are fully heard. Presence becomes one of the greatest gifts you can offer another human being. There will always be uncertainty in life. New challenges will arise. Unexpected changes will appear. Not every question will receive an immediate answer. Yet a person who has cultivated stillness does not panic when clarity is temporarily absent. They understand that forcing answers rarely produces wisdom. Sometimes the greatest insight arrives only after patient observation. As you continue practicing stillness, you begin discovering that clarity is not something you chase. It is something that naturally appears when unnecessary noise disappears. The answers you have been searching for often exist beneath layers of fear, distraction, and constant mental activity. When the mind becomes quiet, perception becomes sharper. When perception becomes sharper, decisions become wiser.